No, I feel very lucky. I have this nice big pantry, but no matter what I do, it's messy. And I like to blame my family, but I'm sure I am partly to blame. Now, I have a great idea, and I think there's going to be a very, very cool transformation. There might be a couple of bumps on the way, so join me as we completely redo this pantry. Well, now it was time to fill up these jars. Now, I got most of these jars off of Amazon, and I will link everything below because I know people will ask. Here, I was like, I'm just going to pile up these lentils all pretty. Putting the cocoa in there. You can see I was like, I'm trying not to make a mess. And I put parchment paper down. And this, I just absolutely love the look of jars, and I can't wait for you to see. There will be a tour towards the end of this video because I have other things to show you that I did, but it just felt so good. And I know some people might be like, it's kind of wasteful, or not wasteful, but time wasting to put things in the glass jars, but it looks amazing, like 1,000 times better. And it's actually way more functional. It is so much easier to grab things out of there now. So this bottom area was super messy though. We had bags of flour and all sorts of things here. So I was at Canadian Tire and I saw these big jars. Now, if you're not Canadian, you might be like, why would you go to a tire store to get glass jars? It's basically like a home goods sort of store in Canada that has a lot of things. Not groceries, but snacks, you know? Anyway, so I got these great big jars. I absolutely love them. They're perfect for the flowers. I need to refill this one, but I love it because it's big. I can take these up to the counter to cook, and it's just so much nicer. And I will link something similar to this down in the description too. Yep, Canadian Tire again. This is a food safe bucket, and I just put the big bag of flour that I get at Costco, I just put it in the bucket, and I got this really cool gamma lid that just twists on, and it keeps all of the grains fresh, it keeps them safe from rodents, and then I can put it in the basement. So I was thrilled with the way that this side looked. It just is so pretty. Over here though, it's a bit of a jumble, right? So we have like these canned goods here, and we don't even eat a ton of canned food. And then there's this section here, which, you know, kids love the old KD if you're Canadian, and I don't know what you Americans call it, but this is, it's a lot of colors, it's a lot of whatever. It's just not what I want to see. I also have spices loose all over the place. There was pasta all over the place. It just wasn't a good look. So I was like, how can I tackle this section? So I had to come up with a solution. I felt like I needed to hide things in some way. I needed like a box or something. And I thought, should I use a wooden box? Lord knows Amazon likes to send boxes, or just some random box I had. No, then I thought maybe a bread box. Yes, a bread box. So I put a whack of things in the bread box, mostly little cooking mixes that I use. And when it's furikake, I believe it's called, which is like a Japanese thing. Just a bunch of things which, when they are loose, look so messy, but in the box it looks a lot neater. I'm not gonna say I love the color of this box, but it looks so much better. The other thing I did was I took the canned goods and like the boxes of Kraft Dinner and things like that, and I put them off to the side so they're not in plain view every time I'm walking by. Now, I know some people will say like, what is the point of a pantry? It's for function. And I'm like, I get that. And yes, I want my house to look lived in, but I want things easy to find, and I just want to look pretty. Is that so wrong? So this, I am trying to make homemade vinegar, which I know is probably very strange, but I'm not sure if that's mold on top. I was trying to make peach vinegar. I don't know. So this basket, now I'm not a big fan of baskets normally, but this one is just sort of flat things. I do have this rice paper. Now, I don't often make wraps with these, but I think I forget I have them. So I'm going to put it back. And if I don't make any wraps in the next like 6 months, I will gift them to somebody. Now, my pasta situation was a little bit not looking good. I had this basket and I just kept thinking it was fine. Of course, I had tackled some of the pulses and beans from earlier, but I still had like this pasta left over and it was just driving me nuts. So what I did, I thought, I'm just gonna use my trick from before with the jars, and I put the pasta in the jars. And even in this one jar, I looked all of the pastas, they took the same cooking time, so I put them all in the same jar because quite often it's like one of my teenagers just making a snack and it looks so much better. I absolutely love it. Now let's get to the formula. So my formula to keep the pantry looking great is D plus G plus D plus H equals awesome. Okay, number one, discard. So we're gonna discard anything that is expired, anything that you have had for a really long time and you are just not using and you probably will never use. Now, I know we live in a world of waste and you feel free to use that, but if something's been sitting for a long time, they're still, just get rid of them. That brings me to G, group together. Like I mentioned before, categorize things. So I have my vinegars together, I have my baking things together. Grouping things together not only has it looking tidier, but it also is just far more functional. And display. I like to use the glass containers as we see. This is pretty new for me. I mean, I've dabbled in the past. Some people, they like to use hooks. Other people, they like to use little shelves. This pantry has a very shallow shelves, so I don't have a ton of options there, which is fine with me because I do have space in the rest of the house to put the things that we don't use all of the time. And H, hide the ugly. So even if you're just dealing with one cupboard, put the ugly in the back, unless you're using it all the time. And then I always feel like function should come first if you're using something regularly. But I did like the idea of tucking away all of those little packages like gravy and salad dressing mix and just putting them in my bread box. And all of that together equals awesome. Now, it might seem odd and maybe not practical to keep things in jars, but it's actually beneficial for 3 reasons. The first reason is I can see what is in here because this glass is clear. And what's nice is I don't have things quite as categorized based on like use as I do other areas of the pantry. So like the baked goods, you know, like here I've got split peas right next to the cocoa, right next to the brown sugar. But because it is so easy to find things and I have things really organized based on the size of the jar because it just looks nicer, which I like. The second thing I really like is that I can use my vacuum sealer to keep things lasting way longer, like my oats, for example. My husband and I, we absolutely love granola, especially in the fall. So we go through a ton of granola in the fall and I'm like making it all the time out of my oats. But when I'm not, the oats will go bad, even in the bag. They get stale super duper quick. So using my vacuum sealer, I can keep my oats fresh for a long time. Same with my rice. I've had rice go bad so much. So you get like this attachment, which I will link below, and you just can keep things fresh for so much longer. Now, the third reason why I like having these jars here is that it looks pretty. Now, yes, I know it's not always practical for people to put things in jars, and you do what works for you. Like, if you don't want to have things in jars, I completely understand. For the longest time, I thought, that's silly. But then my kids became teenagers, and really, I'm basically begging them to hang out with me. So sometimes in the evening, I have a little bit of spare time. If I want to, I can put things in jars. This is the lentils, salt, and then it's mostly grains. So it's actually not too far out of like sync for what is actually there. This is just some old pinto beans, the chocolate chips, mwah, delicious. We've got some coconut. This is cornstarch. So I wrote on the top because down below is clear gel, which is used for canning, and it is a type of cornstarch. I don't know if you could just have clear gel instead of cornstarch, but I'm sure that clear gel is far more expensive, although I'm certainly going through way less of it than I thought I would. And then this is the split peas, cocoa powder, because we go through so much in the winter making hot chocolate, and brown sugar. And then here we've got cornmeal. Don't go through a ton of cornmeal, but that's okay. And then marshmallows. We don't normally put our marshmallows here, but they were getting old and hard, and I kind of just wanted to have them set aside for when we have hot chocolate because they're stale and old, the clear gel. Barley. We've got some, and these are those beautiful Weck jars. And remember, I'll put all of that below if you want to find what they are. This is peppercorn and pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. Raisins, so handy. Great northern beans. I mean, I just had this little jar, just a few beans. Splenda for my mom, canning salt, baking soda, baking powder, flake salt. This is the most delicious vanilla syrup, salt, stuff for canning, it's pickle crisp, and vanilla. And of course, you remember down below, whole wheat flour, regular flour, I'm refilling it, and sugar. This is the section that I'm just so happy about. Now, this is like the vinegars, and I've got the coconut oil. Behind you is a child with a cat. And then this is all those powdered mixes, which I told you about. And it is so handy to have them in a spot where I know where they are. It's organized. It's one type of thing, which is good. And then just like the jarred goods. And here, over here, there's just a couple of yummy jarred foods, like some chicken broth, barbecue sauce, rhubarb sauce made with a rhubarb, yum. This is hummus. And then of course like the pasta, which is super good. And here, antipasto, delicious. So this is the pickles. And I got some pickles here, blueberry syrup. My kids love antipasto. More pickles. I actually have a hidden thing of granola. Ooh, because my husband and I are going through it so much. I'm kind of half hiding it from him, but I'm pretty sure he knows it's there. And then down here, I just have like my 2 rolling pins, which is great. This is just the packaged goods. It doesn't look as nice, which is fine. And then here, of course, are the other jarred things. This is sort of like vinegar and oil. Like, I'm not gonna take these things out of the packaging. I could do the popcorn, I might. Protein powder, I love it. And then just like some breakfast things. These is where we keep our peanuts, and this was my grandpa's, so this is sentimental. And don't forget to label things. I actually labeled the side of a lot of my jars so that I knew what was in there. Otherwise, things are going to get lost. And I am very big about not hiding things in containers for the most part, unless it's like a certain type of thing. Like, for example, how I have like all of these packages and these seasonings in this one thing, plus I will regularly go through it. That is my disclaimer. Now, one of the main rooms that people struggle with is the kitchen. Tidying, organizing, decluttering, the works. This video will tell you everything you need to know about decluttering your kitchen. And I hope something fun happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.